Bill Murray, the king of humor, attacks Jimmy Kimmel on live television, transforming a normal interview into a burning exchange that leaves the host reeling. What brought about this cringeworthy standoff? Let's get down to it. If you're a first-timer here, smash that subscribe button and comment below with where you're viewing from. Let's find out who's here for this wild ride. The Jimmy Kimmel Live studio in Los Angeles is buzzing, lights ablaze, crowd charged with anticipation. Bill Murray, the unpredictable legend, with a knack for real moments, is the night's headliner, his offbeat humor filling the room. He's in town to promote his new film, a quirky drama about a loner discovering unlikely friends in a small town. A story that reflects his commitment to real human connection. Murray's no fan of talk show frippery, the lightweight questions, the canned repartee, and he's in town to keep things real. But the producers are about to test his patience. Backstage tension is already thick. Murray's buddy and part-time handler, Lou, a gruff, old-fashioned fellow, told the crew, "Don't try to box him in, let him talk." He knows Bill's tendency to derail when faced with insincerity, and his words are a definite boundary. The producers nod, but they're scheming, whispering about a flashy bit to play up Murray's comedic persona for viral clicks. They believe his charm will carry it, Lou's not getting taken in, his eyes bunching together as he watches them scrambling. "They're going to live to regret this," he mutters to a stagehand who shrugs in the shadows. In the green room, Murray's reclining, drinking a soda, staring at a monitor as Jimmy Kimmel opens the show, Jimmy Quick. His monologue ridiculing celebrity antics. The crowd lapping it up, Murray's expression unreadable. His tapping foot gently. A sign. Lou takes the measure of the room. The stage manager signals it's time, and Murray straightens his crumpled jacket and heads toward the curtain. No fanfare, just a man getting ready to shake things up. Out on stage, Jimmy's rapping a bit about a viral dance sensation. The crowd cheering. He shifts to Murray's intro, his voice friendly. The one, the only Bill Murray. The band plays a funky tune. The crowd erupts and Murray saunters out, his walk loose, a sly grin flashing. He gives Jimmy a half-bow, playful handshake and adjusts his posture casual, but eyes sharp. The cheers die down and the air thickens. The room focused on the two men under the lights. Jimmy starts safe, asking questions about the film, its themes of connection and community. Murray leans in, his warm, meandering, spinning a yarn about the loner's bonds, the power of real conversations. The crowd's hooked, laughing, feeling his sincerity. But Jimmy's got a performance to give, and he's going for a lighter tone. He makes a joke about Murray's wild party stories, asking if he's still crashing strangers' parties. Murray's smile falters his answer. Curt, that's old news. The crowd laughs, but there's a bite to his tone. A warning, Jimmy's not catching on. Feeling an opening to have some fun, Jimmy's doing a turn, drawing up what he says is a story about Murray pulling a prank on a director, angling for a laugh. Murray's eyes narrow, his jaw tight. Never happened, he reports, his voice expressionless. Final. A murmur through the crowd. Some gasp in uneasiness, others uncertain laughter. Jimmy chuckles, assuming he can shrug this one off, and glances toward a prop. A cheap megaphone, and is holding it overhead with a self-satisfied grin. Come on, Bill, give us a good classic Murray tirade. The audience applauds, going for the gag, but Murray doesn't stir. His eyes could chill the ice to below zero. Lose that thing, he warns. Slow-pointed, the studio suppresses Jimmy's grin. Skating Lou in the wings, shakes his head, muttering, "Here comes the reckoning, this is going to explode." The Jimmy Kimmel Live studio falls silent. Bill Murray's acidic bellow. Lose that thing. Cutting through the air like a thrown spit. Jimmy Kimmel, holding the garish megaphone, tries to salvage the moment with a forced laugh. All right, no megaphones tonight, he says, laying it aside. But the crowds tense their cheers now, a low hum. Murray's eyes are fixed on Jimmy. His frustration at talk show superficiality simmering at low boil, waiting to boil over backstage. Lou, grasping a railing, his stage manager's whispered warning not to provoke him. The stage manager signals the control booth to cut to commercial, but the director holding out for ratings rising with every dramatic pause. Jimmy, sensing the mood change, readjusts his tie, trying to switch back to the interview. Let's talk about the movie more, he describes, his voice strained for easy hoping to capture. He asks the loner's friendships in the film, trying to tap Murray's passion for real connection. Murray replies, his voice cordial, but cut, spinning a yarn of the character's bonds, the kind of human moments that count. But then he breaks off, leaning forward, his tone narrowing. That's what this should be, he advises Jimmy. Not your superficial jokes for laughs. The punch lands and the crowd reacts. Some applauding, some gasping. The room fragmenting into camps. Jimmy's smile trembles, his fingers tapping the desk. He's had experience with flamboyant guests. But Murray's disguised scorn is his show. He tries to deflect questioning on the film's small-town origin story, but Murray's not letting him off. We're missing it, he injects, cutting Jimmy off, his voice edging sharp. I came to talk about what's real, not to play your soundbite game. The crowd stirs some yelling, "Go Bill," while others boo, believing it's showmanship. Jimmy looks at the floor producer, who's urging him to go on, but Murray's voice more assertive, his anger showing this whole thing. He exasperatedly indicates, toward the set, the lights. It's a machine to make noise, not connection. The crowd noise erupts, feeding off Murray's emotion. Jimmy, caught off guard, tries to lean into humor, smiling. Hey Bill, we're just having fun here. No harm done, he says. But the words sound insincere, and the audience knows it. Murray shakes his head, slow, deliberate. Fun, he says, his voice heavy with scorn. You think people want this? Canned crap. They want something real. Some in the crowd stand cheering, while others jeer. The studio crackling with energy, Lou in the wings grumbles. They're done for. The security team, 2 guys in suits, move closer to the stage, but they're careful, aware Murray's mercurial pull. Backstage, the producers are frantic, voices colliding in the control booth. The director's conflicted. The figures are enormous, but this is running amok. Let it play, but be prepared to cut. He commands Jimmy, still on stage, tries to regain control, asking about Murray's co-stars, hoping charm will count. But Murray's done with the script. You don't understand, he says, his voice firm, cutting. You think you can package me into a quick cut? I'm here for something more. The crowd goes wild. Some yelling out his name, others yelling for Jimmy to fight back. Jimmy's facade cracks, his eyes narrowing. He leans toward Bill, shedding the nice guy facade. Look, Bill, we invited you here to talk, he says, his voice gruff. Maybe show a little appreciation for that. That's the spark. Murray's eyes flash, his voice low, sarcastic. Appreciation, he says, his anger peaking. For what? Turning my life into your shallow bit. The audience loses it. The noise shaking the set. Some standing, filming, others shouting. Jimmy's face wreens, his hands gripping the desk. The floor producer signals for a break, but the cameras keep rolling, the moment too big to stop. Jimmy stands, trying to take charge. All right, we'll take a quick break, folks, he says, forcing a laugh. The band kicks in, but Murray's not moving. His eyes unflinching, and the buzz of the audience attuned, this duel for connection far from over. The Jimmy Kimmel live stage is a blur. The hastened melody of the band against the chaotic cheers of the audience, alcohol, and shouts of the name, Bill Murray. As Jimmy Kimmel urges a commercial break, Jimmy standing gestures to the crowd, his a forced smile trying to register control. Yet his eyes dart to the floor producer, who's waving wildly to cut the cameras on, though they continue to roll. The director in the booth, hooked on the soaring ratings, Murray hasn't budged. His glare focused on Jimmy, his annoyance with talk show banality of palpable force. Backstage, Lou, fuming at the producers, his voice low and tense. You put him over. The security team, hanging out in the back of the room, shifts uncomfortably, awaiting orders. As the band breaks down, Jimmy sits inches from Murray, his voice low off mic. But the front row intercepts, grabs. Let's just get this bill done, he says. A blend of plea and exasperation. Murray's response is a mutter. You dug this hole? The hum of the crowd, phones up, recording the moment, already going viral online. Jimmy, feeling the room slip, attempts to whip up the crowd, raising his arms. Folks, we've got Bill Murray, let's give it up. The applause is patchy, drowned by shouts. Some for Murray, some for Jimmy to push back. The room's a tinderbox, and Murray's insistence on actual contact is the trigger. Murray reclines arms, crossed his face, a mix of wry defiance and irritation. He's not here for compliments. He's here to bear the superficiality. The stage manager, sweating, cues Jimmy to wind it up, but Jimmy's not backing down. He grabs a cue card, asking about the movie's offbeat humor, trying to make a move onto safe territory. Murray cuts him off, his voice warm but with an edge. You're still not getting it, he says, loud enough for the mics. I've come to talk about what brings us together, not to feed your soundbite machine. The audience responds some in cheers, standing others booing. The division painfully, Jimmy's jaw muscles contract his customary charm, coming apart under Murray's diligent prod. The host tries to be humorous, but it's not Bill, it's a show, he says, waving a hand around the set. We're here to bring smiles. Murray's eyes gleam his tone, falling deliberate. Smile, you're feeding them hollow noise, not connection. These are words which resonate and strike a chord, with the audience accordingly reacting. Some jeering, urging on others, shouting noise covering Lou in the wings. Nods bitterly cognizant Murray's not letting go. The security personnel move forward, their presence imposing, though they are cautious, listening in to Murray's explosive draw. Backstage there is panic unfolding, voices merging in the control booth. The director's ambivalent, the numbers enormous, but this is disintegrating. Keep it going, but set to cut him. Jimmy on stage attempts one final diversion, asking after Murray's favorite scene, his voice near despairing. But Murray's had enough of the game. You're wasting my time, he says, his voice cracking like a whip. This isn't the movie anymore. It's you trying to bring me down to a clip. The crowd's on its feet, some yelling. Bill, others struggling, the studio alive with their energy. Jimmy's patience snaps. He leans forward, his voice sharp, dropping the host's polish. Bill, we brought you here to talk, he says, pointing at the desk. Show some respect for that. It's a mistake. Murray's eyes flash, and he leans in. His voice low, cutting respects earned, he says. Not by turning my life into your shallow bit. The crowd roars, the noise deafening, some filming, others yelling. The director finally calls the break, the monitors flickering to ads. But Murray's still seated, his eyes fixed. Jimmy remains talking to the floor producer, twitching in his movements. The house lights muted, the band's subdued, and security's closing in. But Lou's already moving, prepared to defend Murray. The audience is restless, sensing the struggle over connection is very much alive, and the stage is set for a settling of scores. The Jimmy Kimmel live studio is an agitated storm. The commercial break hardly muted the crowd's fervor as they whisper. Some chanting Bill Murray's name, others arguing in the seats. The monitors flash with ads, but the cameras stay live, taping every second for the feed. Murray has not loosened his attitude. Relaxed, but his eyes are keen. His frustration with talk shows superficiality, a smoldering presence. The hastened melody of the band against the chaotic cheers of the audience, alcohol, and shouts of the name Bill Murray. As Jimmy Kimmel urges a commercial break, Jimmy standing gestures to the crowd, a forced smile trying to register control. Yet his eyes dart to the floor producer, who's waving wildly to cut the cameras on, though they continue to roll. The director in the booth hooked on the soaring ratings. Murray hasn't budged. His glare focused on Jimmy. His annoyance with talk show banality of palpable force. Backstage Lou, fuming at the producers, his voice low intense. You put him over. The security team hanging out in the back of the room, shifts uncomfortably awaiting orders. As the band breaks down, Jimmy sits inches from Murray, his voice low off mic. But the front row intercepts grabs. Let's just get this bill done, he says. A blend of plea and exasperation. Murray's response is a mutter. You dug this hole. The hum of the crowd, phones up, recording the moment, already going viral online. Jimmy, feeling the room slip, attempts to whip up the crowd, raising his arms. Folks, we've got Bill Murray, let's give it up. The applause is patchy, drowned by shouts. Some for Murray, some for Jimmy to push back. The room's a tinderbox, and Murray's insistence on actual contact is the trigger. Murray reclines arms, crossed his face, a mix of wry defiance and irritation. He's not here for compliments. He's here to bear the superficiality. The stage manager sweating cues Jimmy to wind it up. But Jimmy's not backing down. He grabs a cue card asking about the movie's offbeat humor, trying to make a move onto safe territory. Murray cuts him off, his voice warm but with an edge. You're still not getting it, he says loud enough for the mics. I've come to talk about what brings us together, not to feed your soundbite machine. The audience responds, some in cheers, standing, others booing. The division painfully, Jimmy's jaw muscles contract, his customary charm coming apart under Murray's diligent prod. The host tries to be humorous, but it's not Bill, it's a show, he says, waving a hand around the set. We're here to bring smiles. Murray's eyes gleam, his tone falling deliberate. Smile, you're feeding them hollow noise, not connection. These are words which resonate and strike a chord, with the audience accordingly reacting. Some jeering, urging on others, shouting noise, covering Lou in the wings. Nods bitterly, cognizant Murray's not letting go. Jimmy offstage, his voice slicing as he argues with the floor producer, gesticulating wildly. Blue's in the wings, his glare defying the security team. Two burly men in suits now close to the stage, tense but cautious. The director's voice crackles through headsets. Bring Jimmy back, but keep it in. The break is finished. The lights blazing, the band fumbling into a brief riff. Jimmy back with his smile clenched, sitting with strained ease that does not conceal his tension. We're back with Bill Murray, he says, his voice forcing warmth. But the crowd's applause is splintered. The room's still raw from Murray's stand on True Connection. Jimmy tries to pivot, asking about the movie's themes of friendship in hopes of ground things in Murray's passion. Murray answers, his voice warm, but lace talking of the loner's connections, the human moments which matter. But then he sharpens his tone. Acidic. That's what this should be, he says. Waving at the set, not your shallow clips to get around. What's genuine? The crowd murmurs, some clapping, others altering the split visible. Jimmy's fingers grip a cue card, his smile fading. We're just giving people a laugh, he says, lounging, appealing to audience. That's the show, right? Some cheer. But boos overpower them, the room tilting toward Murray's conviction. A laugh. Murray says, his voice sharply. You're feeding them empty noise, not connection. The audience roars. Some standing clapping, others yelling for Jimmy to push back. Lou, watching, mutters, he's tearing it down. The security guards inch closer, their presence heavier, but they're still holding off Jimmy's control slips. His voice rising. Bill, you're a guest here, he says, pointing at the desk. We're showing you respect. Perhaps some back. The audience feels the gauntlet, their noise spiking. Murray's eyes blazing, his jaw set. Respect? He responds, his voice even cutting. You don't get it by cutting me down to a soundbite. The words jab like, and the crowd goes wild. Some chanting Bill, others jeering the studio. Shaking Jimmy's face, flushes his hands, tightening the desk. He tries to laugh, but it sounds hollow. This is a talk exhibit, Bill, not therapy, he asserts, his voice biting. You want to relate, see another phase. That's the flame. Murray leans, his voice warm but ferocious. I came to speak of what is human, he asserts. Nodding toward the audience, you turned it into a machine. I don't perform for that. The audience erupts. Some standing recording, others screaming the set, vibrating with their power. Jimmy stands in defiance of the host's rule, his voice escalating. You know what, Bill? If you don't like it, you don't have to stay. It's raw, a direct shot, and the audience loses it. The noise deafening Lou moves closer to the stage, his eyes on Murray, ready to move. The floor producer signals security, whispering, be ready. The guards move in their steps. Heavy Murray doesn't stand, but his presence fills the stage. His eyes fixed on Jimmy. His frustration a palpable force. Maybe I won't, he says, his voice firm, piercing. The crowd cheers, some clapping. His rebellion, others jeering. The room a battlefield, Jimmy's had enough, his face red, pointing at Murray. Then go, he says, his voice loud. Final. The audience gasps, the noise seeping. Some standing recording. The director's shouting to cut, but the cameras roll on. The moment too huge to breathe. Murray's unyielding, his glare unflinching, and the stage is a heartbeat away from chaos. The Jimmy Kimmel live studio is a volcano. Jimmy Kimmel's sharp-tongued command. Then go unleashing a tide of cheers, liquor, and screams of Bill Murray's name. Murray, still seated, stands up to Jimmy's glare with a sarcasm-cursed, piercing stare. His exasperation at talk show vacuousness, now infused with biting, sarcastic humor, set to shame. The audience is standing room, some chanting for Murray, others insisting Jimmy take a stand. Phones live streaming, the chaos phones. The cameras, disregarding the director's frantic commands, keep rolling, transmitting the standoff to millions. Backstage, Lou set his eyes scanning between Murray and the security team, now at the edge of the stage, hands poised but wary. The floor producer's voice is begging, asking Jimmy to back off. But the hosts too deep in the battle, Jimmy. His face flushed, nods at Murray again, his voice shaking. "We gave you a stage to share your film," he says, gesturing with his arm to the crowd. "You don't get to trash it." The audience reacts, some applause Jimmy, others jeering the din, a wall of sound. Murray leans forward, his voice low with sardonic edge. "Trash it, Jimmy. You're running a vending machine for cheap laughs. Not a stage." The crowd gasps, then bursts into laughter. Some laughing at the insult, others amazed. The set quivering with their energy. Lou in the wings smiles. Recognizing Murray's quick wit has just struck a blow that'll hurt Jimmy's throne. His mouth opening, but nothing issues humiliation sinking in. Murray doesn't let up his tone, warm but ruthless. "You think this," he says. Gesturing to the set makes people feel anything real. They're starving for connection, and you're serving junk food. The audience erupts, some standing clapping, others yelling, the room splitting further. The security guards step closer, one raising a hand toward Murray. "Sir, let's move," he says, cautious but firm. Murray turns his stare, stopping the guard cold, a mix of charm and menacing. "Hold on, pal," he says, his voice light but firm. "I'm not done teaching your boss." The crowd roars. Jimmy's embarrassment angling, and Lou presses his voice slicing. He walks when he's ready to walk. He barks at the floor producer, who's faltering. Jimmy Hurt tries to catch up. Sitting down, his voice wavering. "Bill, you're making this tougher than it has to be," he says. But the crowd's with Murray, their cheers drowning Jimmy's words. Murray stands slow, deliberate, his presence commanding his fight for real connection. Now a public dismantling of the facade of the show. "Hard," he says, looking to the audience with a wry grin. "This man thinks human connection's a joke. Who's with me on wanting something real?" The crowd erupts, some chanting "Bill." Others capturing the moment, a masterclass in stinging wit. The floor producer gestures to security again, whispering, "Get him out." The guards hesitate, but one moves forward, gesturing to Murray. "Sir, please," he utters, close pleading. Murray doesn't look at him. His eyes on Jimmy, firing off one last zinger. "Keep your megaphone, Jimmy. Maybe it'll assist you in locating a soul." The crowd goes wild. Laughter and applause rocking the set. Jimmy's face red with humiliation. Murray leaves, sauntering off stage, his walk loose, confident Lou by his side. Jimmy left standing alone, the band kicking in clumsily. "Well, that was Bill Murray," he says, going in with a joke. But his voice cracks the bite of Murray's words clean. The reaction of the crowd is split. The energy splintered backstage. The producers are scrambling. The director yelling about damage control. Lou joins Murray in the green room, where he slips on his coat, smiling faintly. "They never learn," Lou grouses. Murray shrugs, his point made. The internet's afire, clips of Murray's roast viral, fans commending his ingenuity, others complaining the burn. The show stumbles on Jimmy, rushing through the final moments, his gloss shattered by Murray's humiliating exit. A moment that'll resound in talk show annals. The Jimmy Kimmel live stage continues reeling, the sound of Bill Murray's biting zinger. Perhaps it'll be used to find a soul. Ghastly as the audience's laughter whoops and alcohol blend into a crazed hum. Murray's strutted off stage with Lou accompanying him, leaving Jimmy Kimmel solo, his face red from the crowd humiliation. The band riff breaks up and cameras continuing to roll, in contravention of the director's wishes, capture Jimmy's straining attempt to get on with things. The audience, some still standing, filming, others arguing, is too energized to come to blows, their enthusiasm tied to Murray's demolition of the show's shallow pretensions. Behind the scenes, the producers are at 6s and 7s, voices blurring as they race to save the evening, as security waits, not having a clue what to do. Now that Murray's offstage, Jimmy sits collecting a cue card, his voice shaking as he tries to cut. "Will folks, that was Bill Murray," he says, laughing. But the audience reactions split laughter and disagreement with murmurs. He rushes into a fast about the next guest, but the room is not with him. Still buzzing with Murray's insistence on real connection at the cost of superficial talk show bites. The floor producer, sweating bullets, points to keep going, but the booth director's screaming about damage control. The numbers massive, but the show teetering. Outside the green room, L guards, as Murray puts on his coat, his weak smile indicating he's happy with the mayhem. "They thought they could stage you?" Lou grumbles, shaking his head. Murray just hums, already planning his next move. The studio's vibe doesn't bounce back. Jimmy bulldozes through the last bits, his jokes bombing his typical wit, seared by Murray's biting tongue takedown. The audience still posting. Tweeting, filming is more intent on Murray's exit more than the program itself. Vids of the confrontation are going viral, online trending worldwide, with fans cheering Murray's brilliant humiliation of Jimmy, others attacking him for ruining the vibe. The producers debate trying to spin it, but there's no spinning this. It's a moment already bigger than the show, a story that'll be retold as talk show legend Murray. In the meantime, exits the studio into the LA night, the distant roar of the crowd fading behind him. LSE alongside him looking at his phone, muttering about the internet going bonkers. "You good?" he asks. Murray nods his stride easy, like a man who said his say and left his mark. The city lights flutter, but he's untouched, his eyes fixed on the real connections he stood for. Back in the studio, the program stumbles to a conclusion, Jimmy signing off with a forced smile. The audience's applause half-hearted. The story of Murray's cringe-making stand dominates all a raw, unscripted collision that exposed the emptiness of talk show filler to the complaint of one man's need for something more. This was not simply a talk show meltdown. It was Bill Murray with sarcasm, like a scalpel cutting through the brouhaha to demand real human connection, leaving Jimmy Kimmel in his dismay. That's the kind of thing which punched people, and I'm glad you're here to catch it. If you're addicted to these Hollywood showdowns, click that subscribe button to catch more. We're getting a team that loves the real deal. Drop a comment below. Tell me where you're tuning in from. Maybe Chicago, Sydney, or some nowhere town off the map. What do you think, was Murray right to set fire to the stage? Or did he cross the line like the video? Share it with your friends. And let's keep this conversation alive.